Good morning, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Sunday, January 9th, 1 p.m. Mountain Time 2022. It's looking like a chilly January, 48 in South Florida. But the big story, ice storm warning in effect until 2 p.m. Speed limits reduced on highways in central PA, so be aware. Keep calm. It's boom time. Winter storm watch issued as rain shifts to lake effect snow and single digit wind chills are heading in. These wind chills were in North Dakota yesterday and they're moving east towards the ice storm. And we have a really interesting jiffy here to just show you that future cast through your Monday. So once the front moves through in the northeast, what's behind it is some blustery and cold air. And that's going to be, well, a lake effect snow machine and a little bit of rain and ice happening this afternoon, but that's going to be followed by some snow bands and some chilly temps, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Without all the snow out in the west we reported on yesterday, I figured I'd take a look at the Westel Snowtel current snow water equivalent, and January 9th is looking like a boom. The dark blue is greater than 150% snowpack. The medium blue, 130 to 149. Light blue, 110 to 129. And it is looking like an epic season for snow, for runoff, especially in the spring, ding ding. And hopefully they capture a lot of that water in the reservoirs where it's most needed. Have you heard? Well, we certainly won't see it here with this ad. At least 34 people rescued after they became stranded on a floating chunk of ice. So all of you ice fishermen out there, can you imagine that? You just start floating away and you're like, Jimmy, Jimmy. Yeah, get the car. We should have brought a boat or a dinghy for that matter. But apparently, 34 people were rescued after they became stranded on a floating chunk of ice in Green Bay. Freezing rain in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, bitter cold in the Northern Plains and Upper Midwest. A cold front will bring areas of freezing rain and dangerous travel conditions to the Northeast today and the Mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, strong to severe thunderstorms and locally heavy rainfall are expected across the Tennessee Valley and South. Elsewhere, bitterly cold temperatures will prevail across the Northern Plains and Upper Midwest before advancing into the Northeast on Monday. And so there's going to be some flood watches and warnings down there in Kentucky after the snow and now heavy rains. So be aware, be advised in your region. And we have ice storm warnings here in north central PA and winter storm warnings and watches for the rest of the Northeast. And it's going to be a chilly one. We're looking at January 25th thermodynamics here. And it is looking like there is not going to be much global warming goodness for the media to talk about in January. It's going to be quite cold, even in Texas. So here we are, the 12th, Wednesday. Take a look at the temps in Texas. That's a chilly Texas, but it is January. And the Northeast is going to suffer through the second week of January, staying bitterly cold, especially up in New England during the second week of January. So be prepared for bitter cold in New England coming soon. And that's boom. Seismic update. And no quakes of note. All is quiet on the Western Front. Looks like most of the world, well, has stopped rumbling. Except for the Reykjanes Ridge. There is a slight uptick in seismicity over the last 24 hours at the Reykjanes Ridge. Yesterday, they announced that the magma may not make it to the surface. But with this little uptick in seismicity, I did a little investigating. And so we could take a look at what's happening in the last, let's say, 14 days. And this was the die-off in seismicity over the last few days when they said, well, it might not be moving up to the surface. And in fact, there could be a dike here at the 5-kilometer level that got in place, meaning it was injected into the earth at that level laterally, and it could be cooling now. And it may not be buoyant enough to make it to the surface. But an uptick in seismicity today, maybe something is afoot. And according to IcelandGeology.net last week, they predicted that the lava would reach the surface by the 11th, which is just 2 days from now. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. So thought I'd bring you up to speed with that worldwide volcano news update. We also have a new volcano on the list here, Barren Island. It is nothing to worry about. It is in western Indonesia, and it doesn't do much. VEI 1 or 2. Occasionally it puffs and passes. So we'll leave you links below if you want to research that on your own. Now, an interesting article and obviously fear-mongering headline. Yellowstone supervolcano warning as researchers found giant magma chamber beneath the surface. Give me a break. But we'll get to the break in just a moment. But let's just take a look at some of the visualization here from the Smithsonian Channel. And it is showing a 3D image of the size of the magma chamber beneath the Yellowstone hotspot and how it extends across state lines. And it's quite large. And it's interesting how it has a hole in the middle. And here you can see the superstructure, which they believe is a much deeper magma chamber in that tri-state area. Can you see it there? There it is. And it goes very deep into the mantle here. Now, the beautiful thing about this is it's not near the surface. In fact, it is very deep in the earth. And what does that mean for an imminent eruption at, let's say, Yellowstone? There is none. It is generally accepted that an eruption in the next 100,000 years is unlikely. 10,000 years. Well, that's still much further away than you and I will survive. So it's generally accepted that an eruption at Yellowstone in the next 10,000 years is unlikely. What could happen is we could see maybe a hydrothermal event where some big geyser activity occurs. But nothing other than that. There's going to be no magma, no supervolcanic eruption, no evidence for it, and it's just not going to sneak up on us, not with the technology and the imaging we have today. So don't get your panties in a bunch. At least 7 dead after Brazil cliff collapses on boats. This is a tragedy. I'm sure many of you heard about it. At least 7 people were killed as part of a cliff collapse onto leisure boats on a Brazilian lake. Another 3 are missing and 32 injured following the accident in the southeast of the country. So be aware about shady tours in foreign countries. Yes, be aware. Very aware. And be very aware if you're in Hawaii. Take a look at these waves. Hawaiian lifeguards implore surfers with eyes bigger than stomachs to stay off the water as apocalyptic swell heads toward the islands. And the reason they're warning it is because there are no lifeguards. The staffing is very low, and if you get hurt on one of these big waves, well, you just might not make it. So take heed in the big surf. Humans genetically similar to 555 million year old animals. Can you believe this? Well, I knew this because I'm a paleontologist and a geologist. And at this time, we had the Cambrian explosion. The Burgess Shale is a very unique example of this, where all of a sudden, all these complex organisms show up when before it, there was nothing. And some of these are the Ediacara macrofossils. And the Ediacaran fauna are very unique and, in fact, directly related, many scientists believe, to humans. So that's a boom, and we'll leave you the paper if you want to research that further. We always like to finish up with some climate funnies. And this one, an article, Climate Change for the 25th year in a row, Greenland ice sheet shrinks. And this is coming from the UN. They know what they're talking about. They put polar bears on the front here. Now, the data from the Danish Arctic Monitoring Service portal shows something different. And here the blue line is 2020-21, one of the highest Greenland surface mass budget years in record keeping. The gray line here is the 30-year average from 1980 to 2010. And you could see last year was well above the 30-year average. Now, here's what's embarrassing about the article. These numbers mean that the ice sheet ended the season with a net surface mass balance of 396 billion tons, making it the 28th lowest recorded in 41 years. Is that the dumbest thing you ever heard? Because what it actually is the 13th highest in 41 years. That's what that means. The 13th highest since records kept. Not the 28th lowest anything. These people have lost their mind. Well, it is the UN. Now, these people have lost their mind too. This is disgusting. Vandals deface ancient Big Bend rock art by scratching their names into it. These are 8,000-year-old petroglyphs, and Isaac, Ariel, Norma, and Adrian. The day after Christmas, you should all be arrested and go to jail. This is disgusting. And this is one of the most inaccessible places. You would think they would know better. Well, we all think they would know better. But nothing says trust the science like asking for the data to be hidden for 75 years. Thanks, Pfizer. That's a boom to knowledge. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in a dystopian world where it takes 75 years to email documents. That's a boom. We love you. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people and be safe. Thanks to all our one-time donors, our Patreons. We love you.